Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of American Cinema. Today we are in my beautiful backyard. I never come out here. I have no patio furniture. I'm actually sitting on a concrete slab, but that's okay. Even though it's the end of October here in Tampa, Florida, it is still 80-some degrees outside, but it's starting to cool down. It feels good. So, even though we are approaching the holidays and it does not feel like the holidays in Tampa, we're going to talk about a Christmas movie, or at least what's been denoted as a Christmas movie this week. It's A Wonderful Life, directed by Frank Capra. It was released on December 20th, 1946. And the film is designated as a Christmas fantasy drama film. So it being released on December 20th was meant for the Christmas box office of the 1946 holiday season. A little bit about the plot. The plot follows the life of Mr. George Bailey up until Christmas Eve, when he is in his mid-30s most likely, has a family now as an older adult. And we go back and follow his life from being a 12-year-old up until the present day and all that's happened in between. So it starts off, it's in the current time of the film, in the 1940s, and it immediately goes back to the 1912, 1912. And then we follow certain parts of his life leading up to the night where the movie starts. And when we get to that point in the film, it's at George Bailey's lowest point in the plot, where he's contemplating suicide after potentially going to jail, and he sends up a prayer. And actually, at the beginning of the film, we see God and the angels in the galaxy. It was an interesting animated way to interpret God and the angels, especially for that time period. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool how they did that. And then a guardian angel comes down, and the last 30 minutes of the film is this guardian angel on Christmas Eve showing Frank what life would be like if he had never been born. And then Frank is very grateful for his life. George Bailey is very grateful for his life. And it concludes the film on Christmas Eve. So the film initially had a poor showing at the box office. I can't speak today. It's fine. It's great. It's Monday. It's great. However, it has become a timeless classic. So even though the film actually, because of such a poor showing at the box office, people actually started questioning Frank Capra's ability to still produce American films. And it's, to this day, in recent years, been recognized by the American Film Institute as within the top 20 of the top 100 best films of all time in 1998, and then again in 2007 when they released those lists. And then it was actually rated the #1 most inspirational film of all time by the American Film Institute. And so this has been my personal favorite in our exploration of American cinema. It's just a feel-good film. The notion of the timeless Christmas movie is essential to American identity, even if today we think about the idea of the mass-marketed, mediated Christmas capitalistic idea as being problematic today, and what that means in the notions of religion and America. However, you cannot deny the essential canonization of the Christmas story to American identity. And so I think, especially for this time period, this film actually has nothing to do really with Christmas that much. And I would argue that was probably why, to some extent, it had a poor showing at the box office in the 1940s, because the film opens and it's Christmas Eve, and this is where George Bailey's sending up a prayer and everyone's praying for him and whatnot. But then we immediately go back to 1912, and there is nothing about Christmas for the first hour and a half of the movie. It's a 2-hour film. First hour and a half, there's nothing that has to do with Christmas until we are caught up into the film where the beginning was, and we come back to that part on Christmas Eve. But even the message of I'm contemplating suicide, my business is falling apart, all these things, it just so happens to kind of fall on Christmas Eve, where it's supposed to be about family and whatnot. But the entire time, the guardian angel's trying to help him, realize that he should value his life and his friends and his family. There's really nothing. It just happens to be nothing actually has to do with Christmas at all. And then the last scene is a giant Christmas party with everyone in the town at his house. I'm helping him out and giving him money. So There's the morals of what we identify with the Christmas movies. If we think about today, like the Hallmark movie, outside of the romance stereotype of the Hallmark movie. But what's interesting is that it had nothing to do with Christmas, really. But it was advertised as a fantasy Christmas drama film. So that's probably why it did not have such a good showing at the box office in the 1940s. But like I said, personally, it has been my favorite thus far, because it's a feel-good film. I can see why it was rated #1 of the most inspirational films of all time. And so, I don't know, it's interesting, the notion of the Christmas film, even though it feels nothing like getting close to the holidays. Being a native of North Carolina, they're already wearing sweaters up there, and like hoodies and sweatshirts, and I want to wear hoodies and sweatshirts. But I don't know, it's really interesting. Even though this, like I said, it's a Christmas film, it happens around Christmas, it has nothing to do with Christmas, essentially. But I'm going to show this to my family over the holidays, because it was so good. I'm like, I can't believe I've never seen this before. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching this film. So yeah, it was great. It was really good. 10 out of 10 recommend.